The ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, sponsored by Boone Electric Cooperative and Premier Property Services, starts now.
Good evening and welcome to the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. I'm ABC 17 Stormtrack Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. Tonight, we'll break down how far lightning can strike away from a storm, how hail forms. I'll also have my long-range forecast and let you know where we can expect any river flooding this spring. Almost 30 people are killed each year in the United States from lightning strikes. Even with all of the technology at our fingertips, your ears might actually be the best tool to keep you safe from lightning. ABC 17 Stormtrack meteorologist John Ross explains how some of these lightning strikes can catch you off guard.
We use a lot of high-tech equipment to both monitor and forecast severe weather. But one of the best tools that you can use to keep yourself safe during severe weather is your ears.
That's right. Regardless of what Doppler radar shows, one thing rings true. If you can hear thunder, you are close enough to a storm to be struck by lightning. You may have heard this referred to as a bolt from the blue, but that's just what we call a positive lightning strike, and they can be particularly nasty. Let's start with the basics. Warm air rises and creates a thunderstorm. Then water droplets and ice crystals get thrown around violently in the storm. They rub together and create electrical charges. These charges tend to be pretty clicky and group together as far away from their counterparts as they possibly can. Positive charges find the top of a cloud, and negatives find the bottom. What we call positive leads reach out and react with energy from the bottom of the cloud, creating cloud-to-cloud lightning. Charges at the ground do the same. This creates most cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. We call these negative strikes. These are dangerous enough, but a positive strike? They're even meaner. You see these often when we have storms on our radar. Our standard is that positive strikes are highlighted in yellow, while most of the strikes you'll see are white. This is a negative strike. Energy between negative charges at the surface and positive charges at the top of the cloud can actually meet. These are less common, but they are the most dangerous. Because these bolts have to travel a greater distance, the electric fields associated with positive cloud-to-ground strikes are typically much stronger than those associated with negative strikes. These yellow bolts can pack 10 times the charge of their negative counterparts, up to 300,000 amps. It's not just the power, though. These dangerous strikes can be extra deadly because they can travel more than 25 miles from their parent thunderstorm.
While positive lightning is rare, it's also the most deadly type of lightning, which is exactly why when you hear thunder roar, you should go indoors. For the Stormtrack Weather Team, meteorologist John Ross.
The ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather App is a great tool to have when severe weather is on the way. ABC 17 Stormtrack meteorologist Chance Gotch explains how to download the app and program your location.
Whenever you are on the go, make sure to stay in the know with the KMIZ Weather App. To download the app, scan the QR code on the screen now. Once the app has downloaded, open it up. You will have access to Stormtrack radar, daily and weekly forecasts for your area, video forecasts, all the latest insider blogs, and the ability to watch newscasts live. Make sure to click the locator icon in the top right corner of the home screen and turn on alerts for your location. That way, when you are busy, you will get notifications to keep you safe and in the know.
When we think of late spring and much of last summer, weeks of drought come to mind. However, devastating flooding rocked St. Louis twice in the span of a week last July. I'm tracking how climate change is potentially impacting locally heavy rainfall events. The summer and fall months brought a drought nearly as impactful as 2012, with almost 7 inches less rain than average for both seasons combined. Less than 100 miles away, though, those living in St. Louis experienced a quarter of the annual average rainfall in just 12 hours at the end of July. Lambert Airport shattered a 24-hour rainfall record, with trailing storms putting down about 9 inches of rain. Just 2 days later, flash flooding yet again prompted several dozen water rescues in the St. Louis metro area. The weather setup was a perfect recipe for locally catastrophic rainfall. A stationary boundary was draped across southern Missouri, providing lift for storms to develop. Strong low-level winds brought in extreme amounts of moisture, interacting with the front and the upper-level jet stream to produce rounds of storms over the same area for several hours. Unfortunately, St. Louis wasn't the only waterlogged place in 2022. In fact, during that same week at the end of July, parts of eastern Kentucky suffered deadly flash flooding. 39 people were killed and more than 600 helicopter rescues were made as 14 to 16 inches of rain fell at rates of 4 inches per hour at times. Extreme river and stream rises were responsible for much of the damage. Both events ended up costing a total of $1.2 billion. While these events are happening on a small scale, they could become more frequent as we experience a warming climate. National Weather Service hydrologist Mark Fuchs says he's noticed an increase in these locally heavy rainfall events in the last 15 years.
The frequency of very heavy rainfall events is more common across this part of the country than it used to be. But we're seeing a lot more of it with better observational equipment.
According to Climate Central, since 1988, increases in rainfall accounted for a third of flood damage in the U.S. For every 1 degree of warming, the air can hold an extra 4% of moisture. Since 1970, the country has warmed 2.6 degrees, meaning the atmosphere can hold up to 10% more moisture. In the St. Louis area, hourly rainfall increased almost 1/10 of an inch, indicating more than a 10% change since 1970. In the period between 1958 and 2016, the heaviest 11% of rain events became 42% wetter in the Midwest. Climate experts warn that additional warming could increase intensity of flash floods by 8% by 2100. Coming up next on the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, we'll explain how hail forms, plus we'll take a look at my long-range spring forecast. Welcome back to the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. The ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather Team issues weather alert days ahead of dangerous and impactful weather all year round. In the spring, that means we're monitoring for the threat of tornadoes, widespread damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, and quarter-size hail. Other spring and summertime threats include the potential for flash flooding and heat indices hotter than 105 degrees. Stay informed of weather alert days by downloading our ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather App and signing up for email alerts on abc17news.com. Storms with hail can be common this time of year, but the size of the storm can determine the strength. ABC 17 Stormtrack meteorologist Chance Gotch explains the process.
From pea size to softball size, hail comes in many different sizes and shapes. What determines the size and shape is going to be the strength of the updraft. To understand the formation of hail, you must first understand what hail is. A raindrop is forced upward into the atmosphere at heights where the air is below freezing temperatures. This rain freezes, forming an icy pellet. However, this ice pellet is often too light right away, so it is forced back into the upper parts of the thunderstorm, where other rain droplets will then collide and collect. This will cause freezing on the original raindrop, in turn causing the size of the hail pellet to continue to increase. Using a high-powered fan, I created a column of rising air similar to that of an updraft of a storm. This air keeps the ball up, representing a hailstone suspended as it grows. Eventually, the ball, like the hailstone, will become too heavy and overcome the updraft. Hail, like the ball, will fall down to the Earth's surface, causing various issues, expanding from property damage to even the potential for loss of life. It takes a significant level of upward winds called vertical velocities to achieve large hailstones. The largest recorded hailstone in the United States was observed in Vivian, South Dakota on July 23, 2010. The diameter of this hailstone measured 8 inches and weighed nearly 2 pounds. Have you ever noticed that right before or during hailstorms, the sky gives off a green hue? The reasoning for this originates from the scattering of sunlight. This typically occurs closer to sunset as the dense hail crystals scatter blue light from the sun. This blue light scattering mixed with increased red hues of the falling sun leads to a greenish color. Although storms can be very exciting to view and experience, it's definitely the most safe idea to stay indoors and remain away from windows. Now, hailstones can be dangerous at 1 inch or greater that can cause bodily harm or even death. That's why better to be indoors, wait for the storm to pass. Fade those pesky hailstorms. I'm ABC 17 Stormtrack meteorologist Chance Gotch.
The ABC 17 Storm Tracker is our 360 look inside of the storm. ABC 17 Stormtrack meteorologist John Ross shows us all the tools inside.
Our journalists and meteorologists partner together to man the ABC 17 Storm Tracker. The tool that allows us to give you real-time information sits atop the Storm Tracker's roof. The ABC 17 Storm Tracker 360. With its full range of motion, controllable from the cabin, our team can safely communicate conditions to you at home via its high-definition camera. From snow and rain to severe weather threats like wind, tornadoes, hail, and flooding, the Storm Tracker 360 is the tool we use to track the elements to keep you safe and informed.
When severe weather threatens your area, do you know where to go? ABC 17's Abigail Landwehr explains where you should take shelter.
During times of severe weather and everything, you should be in contact with your family and friends to make sure everyone's okay.
Lydia Jaja with the National Weather Service says that making a plan for severe weather now can save your family precious moments when storms hit.
No one thinks it's going to happen to them until it does, so it's better to be prepared for those moments.
She says it is always a good plan to have a few supplies ready near your safe space.
You should have a flashlight for sure, NOAA weather radio if you do have one, a regular radio, shoes, backup shoes, batteries, just in case your radios die.
Basements or underground are preferred, but Jaja has some advice if you don't have access to that.
Get as many walls between you and outside as possible. I know that some homes don't have that option. If that is the case, then the bathroom is going to be the best. Get in the tub.
And don't forget something to cover your head.
If you're going to be in a tub, make sure you do have a cushion over your head.
If you happen to be in your car, the best advice is to ignore what you've seen in the movies.
We don't recommend going out and finding a low-lying area. That's completely the absolute worst case scenario. If you can, find shelter somewhere indoors, preferably underground.
Jaja tells ABC 17 News that most offices have a location for you to go. If you are not sure, ask your company what their tornado and severe weather plan is. Along with the ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather App, make sure your phone receives those weather emergency alerts.
On your phone, you can sign up for wireless emergency alerts. That's going to be the best way to get those tornado warnings.
For more weather safety tips, you can visit our website at abc17news.com. In Columbia, Abigail Landwehr, ABC 17 News.
Up next in the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, we're taking a look at if climate change is impacting the frequency of natural disasters. Plus, I'll take a look at our long-range forecast. Welcome back to the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. As our climate continues to warm and our population increases, it seems like natural disasters continue to happen more frequently. ABC 17 Stormtrack forecaster Nate Splater explains.
Heading into spring, it's no stranger to just see some nice days of lighter showers, but also stronger storms. It seems to be even more common to see those stronger storm days, and there is statistical evidence that supports more of those strong storms occurring.
Now this graph can be a bit deceiving. It looks like we've actually lost disasters in recent decades, but this is actually the gap in days between those disasters. A few decades ago, we could expect possibly multiple months between that, but that has shrunk to only several weeks or so here between disasters into this 21st century here. This is fueled by likely a range of factors that some we're already aware of here, especially even rising temperatures.
Specifically in Columbia, we've risen around 3 degrees over the last 50 years, which doesn't seem like a large change, but it doesn't take much to disrupt our fragile atmosphere. Particularly, these warmer temperatures can have an impact on a value known as CAPE, which is a complicated math formula that basically calculates the energy available for storms.
Higher CAPE values generally do lend to a greater chance for strong to severe storms, and this map shows that the Front Range really divides the country, where to the west they are losing days with those energetic storms here in our area, and further to the east, for the eastern half of the United States, we see more of these systems pulling in that energetic and very warm air, which can lend to a higher chance for those disastrous impacts.
This energy in the atmosphere is just one factor that can lead to stronger storms, but overall we are seeing an increase in disasters frequently, so it is more important than ever to stay weather aware. Reporting for the Stormtrack Weather Team, that's ABC 17 Stormtrack forecaster Nate Splater.
Storm reports can be vital in accurately tracking where severe weather is coming and going across mid-Missouri. ABC 17 Stormtrack meteorologist Chance Gotch explains the MPing program and how you can get involved.
Want help with the future of weather warnings and alerts? Go to your phone's app store and download the MPing app. Whenever you are experiencing various types of inclement weather in your location, you can select report types and scroll to the correct type of weather you are experiencing. After you have selected the correct attribute, click Submit Report. This will help meteorologists get more accurate data to help with future warnings and alerts.
Outdoor warning sirens can be a vital tool in alerting you to severe weather if you're outside. ABC 17's Ethan Hines took a look at the Missouri statewide tornado drill earlier this month.
Sirens could be heard throughout Boone and Cole County, participating in the state test that the National Weather Service schedules every year for Missouri.
It's very easy to get caught up in the moment, and we want to make sure that the public understands that it's time to seek shelter as soon as those outdoor warning sirens get activated.
According to TSORT, with the weather changing with more rain and warmer temperatures, there is a potential for more severe weather and the public needs to be prepared.
Having this day as a statewide tornado drill day gives us the opportunity to also, although we do regular tests, test the sirens and remind people what the siren sounds like when it's not a test.
TSORT said that in Cole County, there is a test siren and a real whale. Outdoor warning sirens are used to alert people who may not be close to media outlets about changes in severe weather. According to Boone County's government site, sirens can be heard up to a half a mile away depending on the weather. TSORT wants citizens to remember the importance of finding shelter as soon as you hear the whales.
Make sure to get to that safe place. Get into your basement or low-lying areas, somewhere that doesn't have windows.
TSORT said there were no malfunctions in any of the sirens. Boone County Joint Communications tells me all of its sirens worked as intended. Reporting from Columbia, Ethan Hines, ABC 17 News.
The severe weather season in mid-Missouri starts to ramp up in March and continues through May. ABC 17 Stormtrack forecaster Sawyer Jackson takes a look at the number of hail, wind, and tornado reports recorded each year.
Well, it's that time of the year where we are going to be seeing these chances for severe weather start to pick up during the spring season. More specifically, these major wind events, these tornado events, and these major hail events. You can see that as for our wind events, they are going to be occurring one a year to one every 2 years. As for your tornado events, they happen on average about 30 times a year. Again, spread throughout the entire year. And then for your major hail events, these are going to be later in the spring season and more spread throughout the summer season. So for your winds, severe winds are going to be classified as anything above 58 miles per hour. So 58 miles per hour or above is when we are going to be classifying these as severe winds. Now, one of these events is going to be a derecho, which includes these damaging winds and spread across 240 miles. 70% of these occur in the summer, so they are going to be kind of pushed towards the summer season more than the spring season, but that doesn't discount us from seeing these events occur. And all of the Midwest is bound to see at least one severe wind event every year. As for your tornadoes, you can see a steady increase across the area as we move into the deeper part of the spring season, with about 5 on average during March, 8 on average during April, and 14 on average during May. Now, again, this is data collected since 1997, so again, this is on average. As for your hail events, we see that hail losses since 2019 are on average $8 to $14 billion. And statewide hailstorms happen about every 2 to 3 times a year. Again, happening more or less in the summer, but that doesn't discount us from seeing those events. Now, we do see that the severe hail criteria is going to be anything of 1 inch or above in diameter. This is going to be about quarter-sized for that conversion. And then we have had some pretty noticeable hailstorms in Missouri, one of them being in 2001 about $2.5 billion for those costs. As for your tornado and severe weather warnings for Boone and Cole County, we have seen 588 total thunderstorm warnings for Boone County since 2010 and 507 for Cole County. As for your tornado warnings, we have seen 44 in Boone County and 55 in Cole County since 2010. Here's what that looks like on a graph. We see it's kind of been on a downwards trend, but we had this really big spike in 2011 where we saw some really severe and active weather with 118 severe thunderstorm warnings and 11 tornado warnings for Boone County, and then 122 thunderstorm warnings and 16 tornado warnings for Cole County. So we see definitely a downward trend, but that does not discount us from seeing some more active and present weather throughout the area. So make sure to stay alert, stay up to date, and stay aware of everything going on in your area in this upcoming spring season.
Coming up next in the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, I'm taking a look at how warm this spring is going to be and where we can expect flooding on rivers in mid-Missouri this spring. Welcome back to the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. We're coming off a very mild winter, but our March has been pretty cold so far. I'm tracking a big change to the large-scale pattern that could have an impact on our forecast through May. We're in for a pattern change this spring after coming off a mild winter in mid-Missouri. This past season ended up being the third warmest winter on record in Columbia with an average temperature of 34 degrees. February was noticeably mild, coming in at 6th warmest ever and tied for least snowiest. Our winter average snowfall is 15 inches, but we only recorded 4.7 inches between December and the 1st of March. The most impactful winter event was the stretch leading up to Christmas when we saw about 2 inches of snow and wind chills more than 30 degrees below zero for days in a row, canceling hundreds of flights across the country and impacting several states. Rain came in below normal, but enough precipitation fell to erase the impressive drought that we had all summer into fall. When forecasting months at a time, we look at large-scale patterns, such as the El Niño Southern Oscillation. These patterns tell us whether the ocean temperatures are above or below normal and where the jet streams will set up, a key factor in storm development. After 3 years in a La Niña pattern, we're expecting sea surface temperatures to warm a bit, allowing for a more neutral pattern heading into spring and summer. A neutral pattern means our weather could be more variable, as the jet stream won't be locked in too far north or too far south of mid-Missouri. We'll likely have stretches of quiet weather along with periods of storms and rain. The last neutral spring was 2020, when we recorded 342 severe weather reports. The 20-year average is 464 wind, hail, and tornado reports. A typical spring in mid-Missouri averages about 56 degrees from March through May. Last spring was slightly above average. Average rainfall comes in at just over 12.5 inches. Last spring we had almost 15 inches of rain, but then we followed it with a very dry summer marked by weeks of severe drought. Since 1970, much of the Midwest has seen a temperature increase of at least a few degrees in the spring season. Columbia has warmed 3 degrees in 52 years and averaged 13 more days above average during the 3-month period. For this spring, I'm tracking near average temperatures. Cooler than average temperatures are expected through much of March before things begin to warm up. Our typical last freeze falls around April 15th. Precipitation is trending above average through May, with an increase in potential severe weather events in April and May. Even though we're coming off a drought, the upper Missouri Basin that flows into the Missouri and Mississippi River and their tributaries has received rounds of precipitation, including more snowfall this season. The last month has brought rainfall amounts between 150 and 250% higher than normal. Snowpack is looking healthy across Minnesota and the Dakotas, but snow amounts don't look to produce excessive runoff downstream. Through May, the upper plains look to ease drought conditions with no new drought developing in mid-Missouri. There could be minor flooding on the Missouri River, especially from Chamois to Herman. Jefferson City has a much lower chance of seeing flooding this spring. Near normal flooding is expected along smaller rivers as snow melts upstream and flows into smaller tributaries. Spring tends to be the busiest and most dangerous season when it comes to inconvenient weather in mid-Missouri. Check out our website, abc17news.com, for ways to prepare and stay safe ahead of wind, hail, tornadoes, flooding, and lightning in the forecast. Thank you for joining us for the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. You can find all of these stories and more information on how to stay safe ahead of dangerous severe weather on our website, abc17news.com. Don't forget to download our ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather App to get those alerts right to your location before the storm hits. For the entire ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather team, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner.
You've been watching the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, sponsored by Boone Electric Cooperative and Premier Property Services.